To this webinar that we have here on AI and data transformation for safe, efficient, and sustainable supply chain and logistics. This meeting is being recorded and will be available to share amongst your colleagues, pass around, and please do. And I know some of you will watch this post non-live after this presentation. As always, thanks for giving up your time. I really think, once again, you will find this really beneficial. What we're going to talk about at this cutting edge of AI and what it's doing for supply chain and logistics today. We've got a Q&A, of course, as always. Just pop your questions into the chat. You can do it anonymously if you want. You can do it privately just to us. So you don't have to worry about, hey, you know, that person asked that question. Just please pop it in the chat, and we can pick up those questions maybe as we go along, if not toward the end. And if you'd like, we can actually just come back to you later on afterwards. So let me just go through very briefly the agenda. I'll just quickly touch on an introduction to AI, blockchain, and trusted data in the supply chain, and give a high-level view of the state of the world in where we are today. Then we're going to hand over to Kieran Kelly, who's going to talk about creating this frictionless path in the supply chain and give a live demo on walking through how this affects the business today. And then hand over to Colm, where he's going to walk along a journey to AI. And this is a journey I think we're all on today. And as I say, then we'll move on to some Q&A. So firstly, myself, I'm head of sales here at Anaeko. Kieran, do you want to just say hello to everybody?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kieran Kelly. I'm the CEO of a company in Northern Ireland here called Ubloquity.
Super. Colm.
Yeah, and I'm Colm Hayden. I'm CEO and co-founder of Anaeko. And as you'll hear later, we help transport and logistics companies implement data platforms and solutions and deliver insights that can grow market share and reduce operating cost.
Super stuff. Thanks, guys. I'll be coming to you pretty shortly. Hopefully you can see. We're coming to you live. We're actually live from Stoneleigh, near Birmingham in the UK, and we're at the Road Transport Expo. This is day 2. It's been a beautiful sunny morning. There's a huge turnout here. There are thousands of people here, and there's hundreds of people just walking by there a moment ago. So apologize if there's suddenly a big burst of noise, but that's live for you, and it's really good fun being here, as we said. Now, clearly, there's an awful lot of trucks here. But there's also a lot of companies here that have solutions with the AI actually built in. And that's what we'll be talking about a little bit today. And in fact, as I was just pointing to as well, we've actually got one of the companies right there behind us, which is using, again, camera technology. And we're finding an awful lot of businesses in the logistics market supply chain are using cameras. And Colm's actually going to walk us through one of the examples around that subject today. So very, very briefly, just touching on Anaeko. Hopefully you've been joining our webinar series with more to come as we go through the year. But Anaeko, we are data engineers. We're a data engineering company offering consulting, solutions, and teams. But what we do is we help customers and partners build and operate data and analytics platforms. Here today, we are transport analytics. We're not new to transport and logistics, and we're certainly not new to AI. We've built hundreds of platforms, and we've worked specifically on autonomous vehicles. And again, Colm's going to actually walk us through one of those projects that Anaeko has worked on. So let's get into this. Let's get into the meat of what this particular presentation is about today. So there are many challenges in the supply chain business. And depending on where you are in that supply chain, you each have your own set of challenges. But there are primarily some top overriding ones, and fuel and safety are right at the top of that. And for connected reasons, but still different reasons. Safety and the overall health of the workforce itself trumps absolutely everything. Roads themselves are busier than ever. We've all witnessed it when we're driving around, but also maybe if you're on your bike and you're biking to work, what you see are there are more and more users on the road. There are more and more diverse uses of users on the road. And all of that translates into more and more potential danger. And that's why the safety aspect of the transport industry has been brought up many, many levels. And there's an awful lot of efforts around there to bring that safety up to the levels that can deal with this huge ingress of traffic that we're seeing. That's one area, but fuel is another. And we mentioned this actually in our last webinar as well, that although trucks are more efficient than they've ever been before, more so even than the private sector in the cars because of the shift to SUVs and things like this. The problem is the ultimate cost of fuel itself has become the difference between profit and loss in a haulage firm, no matter how many trucks are going out there. You've got bunkered, you've got forecourt, you've got the refrigerated trucks, and sometimes they're sat there waiting to move, they've been held up, they've arrived at the port, there's a delay. Could that have been handled better if there was a priori knowledge, if there was AI, if there was good data? Driver behavior kicks into this as well, in terms of harsh braking, harsh acceleration, things like this. All of this is data that can be acquired and all adds into, can we do something about the fuel? Because just a few percent saving on the fuel, as I say, can hit that bottom line and can make the difference between the profit and the loss. But also, and Kieran will be talking an awful lot about this in a moment, is friction and the idea of goods transit and the friction that's being caused along there. And can you join the dots as you move along that supply chain? So AI. This isn't going to be a lesson on AI. I think there's Wikipedia out there if you want to look up on that. But artificial intelligence is all around us today. It's in our homes, it's in our heating systems, it's in our workplace as we walk in, monitoring our temperatures and adjusting the temperature accordingly. Most of us have used various forms of, say, ChatGPT, the image I have there on the left. But in most modern vehicles today, even us as we drove here today, you can be chatting away in the car, and there's suddenly a car in front of you brakes, and your car will immediately start to brake for you. So all of that is AI, or often referred to in those types of examples as machine learning. And so this is all around us today. And what these are there for is actually to make our environment safer. And back to that original thing about its fuel and its safety. And that's both in the vehicle, so safety for the drivers and the passengers, but also around the vehicle, people walking around. And again, I cite back to the example here, which is exactly what this company is responsible for. It's what is happening around the vehicle, and can it decide between traffic lights changing to amber? Can it decide between a bicycle that's about to take a left turn, right turn? This is exactly what this firm is doing here. Now, AI at its core is really to take those mundane, repetitive tasks that we're currently doing and repeating them at a speed far beyond what we can do, far beyond our capability. And it's very similar to me, analogous to when computers were first made. The only difference here with AI, or machine learning, if you want to call it that, is that we want to process, we want it to make those decisions based on the information it's receiving. And we want to make it so it can actually learn from the information that's been brought in, and actually learn from information now that it no longer has, and make educated movements. And that's true AI. And that's why it's only as good as the data that it gets in the first instance. And this is something we're very much massive believers in the company, but also that is at the heart of AI. So never mind what we think, let's have a look at what Gartner thinks. What is really interesting is that your peers today in the supply chain and logistics are already adopting the technology. As I say, there are huge amounts of companies here today selling AI within the hardware. But you look at some of the stats here yourself, 70% of business leaders in supply chain and logistics believe that the benefits of Gen AI, or generative AI, outweigh the risks. And we'll come to those in a little moment. 38% of logistic companies have already employed AI, and supply chain firms are expected to witness a twofold increase in machine automation. And the machine automation can come in so many forms, and again, we'll touch on some of those, and that'll be over the next 5 years. And here we are back to the ROI, because everyone, especially in the private sector, needs to know, if I'm going to invest, what's my payback? Health and safety is one, and there are paybacks in that. But what about my actual ROI bottom line? operating cost reductions of up to 50% can be seen by adopting AI. And this is while increasing safety at the same time. So you get the best of both worlds that we just mentioned a moment ago, being the top aim focuses that companies are looking for. So again, evident here at the Road Transport Expo in Stoneleigh, there are many, many of examples that have this AI built in that you can purchase today. Things around route optimization, the health and safety, the cameras that we're talking about. There's a fantastic section just behind me here, once again, behind this stand, which is all around maintenance and predictive maintenance. And that really starts to become at the heart of what AI truly is. So the challenges of AI, because we say, well, if that's the case, why don't we all just rush out and go buy all of the gear and start adopting AI? Well, that's because there are some gates in the way, or what we perceive as gates in the way. And the first one is you have to go buy it. You have to buy into this idea, and you have to buy into this technology. And it can feel like, as the picture is sort of depicting, it can feel like you're taking a leap of faith. But in fact, when it's based on good, hard fact, in other words, data, good data that's verified, trusted data, then it's not a leap of faith. And in fact, it's trusting in the data that you have is everything about what is the move towards good AI. So the next real area, as well as cost itself of buying into it, and then its related ROI, is the integration. It's related to cost, but can you integrate everything, your systems that you want to talk to? These need to communicate and then, of course, transfer data. And that can become a challenge. And the challenge often in that is because the knowledge required to get those integrations together. And that's where we strongly come in, as well as Ubloquity, to really bring all of this together in that seamless transaction, so that you just simply see the omni layer in front of you for your data. Data itself is also a challenge, and getting inside and unearthing the data and clearing the data and making it honest data is exactly the business that we're in here today. Now, just as I'm about to hand over to Kieran, we've mentioned AI and machine learning, but in fact, blockchain, you look at the statistics yourself, blockchain is actually currently today having the greatest impact on the logistics industry. Now, it's just pipping ahead of AI, and the core reason for it being so closely tethered is because together they're highly synergistic. But what is blockchain? Well, blockchain, and Kieran's going to really break into this deep, is fundamentally a shared immutable database. And you can see here that what it does is provide secure, transparent framework for transactions and tracking, ensuring accuracy and integrity. AI is the horsepower that drives and optimizes that process, and then provides that intelligence, that insight into that data-driven analysis. And that's really when these dovetail together, you really get that synergistic effect in the industry. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to pause now, and I want to hand over to Kieran, and you take it away now, and let's get into some really good demo examples.
Cheers, Mike. Thanks for that. And thanks to Colin and the team at Anaeko for the invitation. Folks, I want to show you an example of what success looks like. The problem that we were seeking to address was the movement of goods from GB into Northern Ireland under the Brexit arrangement called the Windsor Framework. And the challenges that people faced in getting products across the border. We know that our logistics sector is the lifeblood of our economy because things either move on water or on wheels. And without the logistics sector, things will drag to a halt. But the barriers that have been put into and the friction that has been put into the sector is causing major problems. So we sought to move things frictionlessly, using this thing that Mike talked about called the blockchain, or this distributed ledger. We started by taking data from all areas of the supply chain. But from the logistics sector, it was the TMS, it was the trailer. And more recently, it's been through these digital seals that reside on the back of the trailer itself. These take single-use plastics out of the industry. They create efficiency savings because they've got electronic accelerometer, decelerometer, altimeter, but they're multifunction. They have a 5-year lifespan and they have up to 7 weeks battery life. So they go on the back of the trailer independently if you don't want to open up your TMS. But what I'm about to show you actually it's synthetic because I can't show you real customer data. But what I want to show you is a plot through this connected community that you see has been established on the blockchain. And what we have done is we're showing here just a generic map or protocol from a company in Northern Ireland sending product across the land bridge. So out of Northern Ireland, across the UK land bridge and into EU. And by picking a single consignment, we can see all of the data in real time from the consignor all the way through to the consignee. Now, the company, the haulier that we work with in this instance, and just to Mike's earlier point, is more akin to a Formula One team because they're very, very data driven. They take all aspects of fuel usage, performance, analytics, so that they can offer that service to the customer, and it is a value add service that they're offering. Now, they're growing exponentially, but the purpose of this was to take cost out. So I know I can't see you, but a show of hands would say how many people would prefer to go through fast track at an airport as opposed to standing in the queues. Certainly thanks. Certainly from, yeah, exactly. Certainly from traveling through Belfast, believe me, it's akin to a car park than it is an airport. But to the point and principle is the opportunity here to subscribe to this service, and again, all data-driven machine as much as possible to collate data from 5, 6, 7 different systems and bring it into a single trade window. So when the customer loads the trailer at the point or the source, what happens then is the sea goes on and it creates a journey. So it's the start of that journey. But what it does, as soon as it breaks the geofence, it actually informs the port and especially the ship to say, I'm en route. Now, that stops the hundreds of phone calls. Are you there yet? Are you there yet? Are you there yet? But it also takes friction out because it provides the ship with an ETA and an ATA. But through the port, they go through the green lane because what they have done in advance is they've shared the journey information, the consignor, the consignee, port of exit, port of entry, and then this thing called smart customs. And
if you in general want to go for a run, yes, it's better to go for a run before than after.
In terms of the smart customs piece, what they're doing is integrating all of this data through this single trade window. As it breaks the top of the port in Belfast, it also notifies the inbound port and says, I'm en route. Here is all of my consignment details. Now, what that does is it informs the authorities, so HMRC, HMG, and local port authorities. And if there's SPS related goods or special goods on, they can actually see that information. So again, back to Mike's point, and analytics is so important here. The agencies run a risk score against that. And this is all done in cloud computational compute. They run a risk score. Anything under 5, they don't stop. Anything over 5, they stop. In all of the work that we had done over the 18 months, we had 0 stops, but it's all data driven. Again, tracking across and to the point, because this manages and also tracks the journey, it's also recording the carbon footprint for that journey, the weight on the trailer, the change in the tractor. Now, the tractor will change anything up to 5 or 6 times, but the container remains static, as does the trailer ID. So on its way out of Maidstone, it actually notifies the port and says, I'm inbound, my ETA is X, and it will give an ETA and an ATA. So the port are ready for this consignment coming in and they know where to put it, and therefore fast track through. Again, 30% cost savings, 30%. So for every 1% we save in the logistics sector, it equates to £100,000. That's a lot of money that's better in the sector's pockets than it is outside of the sector's pockets. But it's about taking the data that already resides within your environment and presenting it in a way that the AI can actually picture it, take it, and automate a lot of that process. For example, the seals are made now with this unique code on the front. So when the AI camera picks that up, it can do lots of things. It can actually open and close barriers. It can notify individuals. It also has other aspects to say that trailer has been in that park for X amount of days, and it can present all of the data in behind it. But what the customer sees is a complete journey. Now, you can open up the TMS. My suggestion is potentially not to do that, given the potential cyber footprint. But what happens next is transformational. Because all of this actor and asset data is written to the blockchain, we present this in a very simple pane of glass. And that pane of glass shows you the performance, but also provides the data to all of the agencies in a single window. Now, there are smart customs sitting within Northern Ireland and the UK that can actually feed up into this, and you already have the infrastructure available, whether the telemetry is in the tractor or the trailer. These sensors, these disposable or these long life digital seals have all got the capability to enhance your business and make it data driven. So much so that all of this information contained is presented in this blockchain format. Now, it's digitally signed and sealed, date and time, the operator, the actor. So it also supports trusted trader status. So therefore, that pass through the green lane or that express lane that you want to go down, the more that it's used, the more the credibility. It's almost like a scorecard. Now, you can say that it's Big Brother watching, but actually you're driving rather than being driven. And anybody in the logistics sector, from my understanding and working with you would rather drive than be driven. What Anaeko is doing is taking that data and presenting it to you and the sector to say, okay, here are potential cost and efficiency savings. Here are potential better ways to work, whether it be fuel, whether it be health and safety, whether it be frictionless trade, whether it be efficiency savings and automation. Anaeko take all of that data up from the blockchain and they present it through this trade window. And through this trade window, you only have to look at one source of information. Now, the profitability from that can be tailored again through the consultancy that sits within the Anaeko portfolio. But again, all of this information is in one place. Now, rather than have to dive into all of the government systems, all of your own telemetry systems, and for those that are still struggling within the hundreds of spreadsheets, this information can be shared with your customer. Now, one thing I will say is that the customer only sees what they need to see. And in only seeing what they need to see, there's no chance of them seeing any other information. So for groupage, for example, you could have 3 individual retailers or brands on your trailer with the seal, and nobody will see the other's information except the authorities that need to see it. Now, because this is digitally opened with RFID or remote, then you can say when it was opened, where it was opened, and who opened it. So therefore, it's presenting, again, a lower threat to veterinary inspection or trailer inspection. And again, for those companies that are being targeted at the minute for anti-people smuggling and the movement of individuals across borders, this is currently under assessment from a number of law enforcement agencies. So it's about taking control and driving. And the opportunity here is to answer the questions the future is asking. Now, blockchain is not a panacea. It's not the answer to all the problems. But when it's combined with the Anaeko powerhouse and the engines that sit within artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data extraction, it becomes a single source of the truth. And in doing that, we have saved brands, automotive, pharmaceutical, food, and supply chain members 30% annual savings based on the definitive need to move goods across the sector transparently. Again, thanks to Team Anaeko for the opportunity, and at the end, I'll always be happy to answer any questions or queries that anybody might have. Mike, I'm going to hand back to you.
Thanks very much, Kieran. Colm.
Yeah, thanks, Kieran, for that. Just as I come on, the rain has started to pour, so hopefully that is not making too much of a background noise for you and you can hear me clearly. But I'm going to pick up from what Kieran has described and the scene that Mike has set to explain how the transport and logistics industry are on a journey to implementing AI and how these technologies and platforms can come together. So I will share my screen now. And a reminder that the overall theme of this webinar in AI and data transformation is looking at making it safer, more efficient, and sustainable supply chain and logistics management. And Anaeko, as Kieran describes, we work with transport and logistics companies, and we're helping them analyze and share data. And from a safety perspective, there is safety right across. There's, excuse me. Apologies. Yeah, there's safety in understanding and reducing the incidents and accidents. So that AI technology can be built into the trucks and technologies to detect hazards and raise awareness around them and have assisted driving and eventually autonomous driving. There is compliance, understanding the training and the needs that are there to protect the drivers and the environment. There's efficiency in the route optimization. So where Kieran showed a number of haulage firms across the supply chain, a specific route, other route management systems will define where is a more efficient route to take. We will look in supply chain at predictive maintenance, and there AI can be applied to analyze what has happened in the past and help predict a future and prevent and predict maintenance. And you can increase the utilization across the UK. Freight, 40% of freight journeys will be empty. Now, there are routes and planning that need to go behind that, but utilizing of the vehicles in a better way and utilizing drivers, a scarce commodity, are important efficiency drives. And from a sustainability point of view, all of this analysis, it should be delivering better for the environment. And the good thing about carbon reduction in optimizing your fuel usage, you're saving costs and you're helping to move towards a greener and cleaner environment. So AI is a journey and it's based on a solid foundation of data. The blockchain that Kieran and Ubloquity provide is an immutable record. And so it's trusted, it cannot be tampered with. It is available that can give you detailed, accurate tracking information that follows that seal. And solid data is essential for AI because when a human makes a decision, they account for the nuances in imperfect data, but you need perfect data for AI to act upon. Within an organization, as you're implementing AI, there are two parts. We see AI built into the systems and the platforms, and there where you're using it already. But if you're going to drive specific AI processes, you need to raise awareness within your organization and within your staff on what is and is not AI. And there needs to be an experiment. You need to prove the value. So we would very often implement proof of value projects where there's a measurable impact delivered before you can scale out that operationally across your fleet, across the regions you serve, and across the functions that are part of that supply chain. And there's a maturity in the use of data and analytics, and typically AI increases along that. So transport and logistics firms are transforming their use from the historical reporting, a descriptive view of what happened. And on the left, you'll see where, for example, we would report key performance indicators by week, by month, by quarter, by year, in order to improve, in this example, which may be hard to see, but safety. So how do we see how the safety targets were from the previous period and improve upon them? And we're looking historically back. Then as organizations move on that maturity journey, they start to say, well, why did it happen? Why is our safety improving or decreasing? And so you have diagnostics. And within diagnostics, there is the ability for machine learning within AI to analyze much more data than an individual person could, and then surface that through reporting so that you can make better diagnostic decisions on why it happened. Next, you want to predict, so you're looking at trends. And so in the small diagram chart showing there, we're correlating the checks that were performed and the defects were found in predictive maintenance to see is there a pattern that we can predict against. And then you move finally towards prescriptive analytics, where you're recommending solutions. And so we look in the sustainability of this supply chain, EV replacement, so looking at the economic life cycle analysis of vehicles and understanding when is the right time from a commercial point of view and which are the right vehicles, because there is analysis data that comes off Ubloquity's blockchain that can tell you about the efficiency, and that can be brought together with a fleet replacement strategy. And we are a professional services company, and we say that AI requires IA, an information architecture. And an information architecture means an ecosystem that might contain a very trusted immutable data source like the Ubloquity blockchain, and it connects into the internal systems within your business with your partner data sharing, with the vehicles and the staffing, so you get trusted data that is findable, it's usable, it needs to be machine readable for AI, and it needs to be understandable. And within that, there are standards that can be adopted that help share that information across the supply chain and ecosystem. And in the absence of standards, you need metadata. So how do you describe the information you're capturing, and how can you search against that? So one of the areas that is represented here in the Road Transport Expo is autonomous driving. And Anaeko has worked with autonomous driving, where there is a set of levels, 5 levels from no driving automation, where we used to be manual cars, to all of us now are used to driver assistance, partial driving automation, and there's an increasing use that make safer roads because they detect hazards between vehicles and staff. They protect the environment by delivering more sustainable. They control your harsh braking and acceleration. In many sectors, they're improving better accessibility. They're driving economic growth for more efficiency, and it's creating new jobs. And so in proving the project, I'll take an example where we were working with a driverless vehicle manufacturer, and our project was to pilot to take all of the analysis off their vehicles filled with sensors in order to understand how they could be safe, efficient, and sustainable. And in big data, they describe the 5 V's. that that are very common in this example. The velocity, there's sensor data coming off, and we're trying to process that, and video data very fast. There's a variety because there's video frames, there's all of these sensors inside the vehicle and outside from cameras and proximity sensors. There's a veracity, which means the quality, the integrity, the accuracy. And these sensors can have failures. You can have weather conditions impacting the machine and computer vision. And so you need to understand the reliability, cleanliness of that data to build a large volume of. The more data you have, the better it is, and metadata describing what's there to enable the value. And the value is able to identify for data scientists to be able to pick out scenarios that a human would recognize and look at, for example, a right turn at a T-junction. And from a data engineering perspective, we need to protect that. So we need to ensure it's private, so redacting driver identification and vehicle identification details. It needs to be secure because this is both a valuable asset to these companies developing it, but it's also got a security that you don't want any unfavorable actors into the system. There's a cost in managing huge amounts of data, and it would reduce that cost of managing the increasing volume of video and unstructured data that is generated. And there's a need to move fast in the market, so accelerating the time to analysis. So in that pipeline, the things you're ingesting, you're classifying the data, you're curating and making it searchable in order to train these AI models. And then what does that look in practice? Well, we're checking out the potholes, the signs, the other vehicles, we're classifying them, we're enabling data to activate them, and we're training. And how does that get put into practice? Well, you have in a consumer environment, you have Tesla and other manufacturers introducing increasing levels of autonomous driving. You have Volvo and their trucks working with Aurora, building out the same techniques. And what they're doing is hazard detection through the computer vision and sensors that are alerting the driver to make a cleaner, safer transport experience. And so as we work in there with this great power against AI, comes great responsibility, and we need to make sure that we're upholding principles, that it is ethical, that all data-driven decisions that will be made by artificial intelligence are in line with laws and regulations and ethics, they're secure, and there's integrity. We need to make sure it's sustainable because AI's rising popularity is leading to increased power use, but cloud providers like Amazon Web Services and Microsoft and the technology providers, they're making for greener energy consumption, so that while there's increased use of AI, we need to make sure there's sustainable cloud choices. And there can be a fear that AI may take somebody's job, but the reality is somebody who knows how to use it is there. And so we're augmenting and cooperating with humans, and we enact those principles. So when we put all of that together, to deliver impact into a business, what you need for delivering the AI impact is an architecture with trusted data, and the blockchain forms part of that. The shift from the historical reporting of what happened to prescriptive analytics, making decisions and recommending decisions, that there's a need for expert skills because this is sophisticated, and transport and logistics firms need to focus on their core business and remove the undifferentiated heavy lifting. So working with cloud technology specialists like Kieran and his team, and the data engineers and data scientists to put together. And most importantly, you need the business-led impacts that can, the initiatives that can have a measurable impact. And so as these get applied, that single pane of glass that Kieran presented there gives a view onto the efficiencies that are gained, the hours saved, the frictionless borders, and that all delivers for a cleaner, more efficient and safer transport and logistics supply chain. So I'm going to stop there, and I think, Mike, will pass back to you.
Brilliant.
To
Yeah, I'll take that one back.
you can take.
Yeah, let me just pop that back up. Thank you, Colm, and also thank you, Kieran. We've got some questions coming in as well, which I'm going to come to now in a moment. Let me just kick the presentation just back in again. Let's get that to load back in. So yes, we've got some questions coming there, but let me just come to sort of what I would see as maybe the takeaways just so far before the questions. Let me just keep coming. There we go. Oh, there we go. Okay. So working in threes as ever, but let's just take some takeaways that we're trying to portray here today. Firstly, AI is to be embraced in your business. It has to be small, measurable, actionable steps, smart. It's already in your purchase, in hardware that you're purchasing today. It is not something to fear. It is something that can actually enhance your business and move it forward competitively as well. Number two, a solid foundation starts with trusted, immutable data. This has been expressed by Kieran and Colm, who have years in this business. This is where everything starts. And finally, and it's last but not least, AI and blockchain together are synergistic in the supply chain. Look at both together and look what they bring into your business. So they're just the takeaways I was just sort of writing as I was listening to the guys there talk. But let's come over to Emil. Thanks, Emil, for banging those questions in, and Chris as well. Let's come to the first question there, and it's really regarding contextual versus generative AI. Either one, do you want to take that question? What about contextual AI instead of just Gen AI for operational optimization?
Yeah, well, I mean, if I pick up on that, firstly, I would say that everything has to be taken in context. And you know, so in contextual AI, you're trying to respond to the environment around there. That everything we have in here in this Road Transport Expo is put in context when you see the vehicles, the real-time feedback. And so that is essential to operational optimization. I guess, Kieran, maybe if you had, if there's anything.
Kieran, any further thoughts on contextual versus Gen AI?
I think generative AI is certainly a big part of what we see now today, because there's so many unknown unknowns. And because you're taking the data in and using that data to make smarter predictions for automation, then we would see the increase in adoption of Gen AI, especially in border checkpoints or especially within control zones. So biosecurity zones and other zones where generative AI is learning and working towards a collective. Certainly from what we have seen in the industry, I would say it's very much leaning towards the Gen AI model.
Yeah, absolutely concur with that as well. So, and I think this is something, contextual AI is something that's also, it's progressing at a speed, but I think we're going to see it coming more and more into models as hardware is also, pushed forward. But Gen AI, I think, is the one that most people are grabbing onto today and moving forwards, as I mentioned, even with the chat GPT. But question two, regarding, and again, also from Emil, so thank you, you've been busy today, is would time-stamped proof digital twin fit into a project done using an Anaeko solution for digital transformation?
Yeah, well, the term digital twin gets mentioned a lot, but implementations in practice are very different. And what Kieran has displayed there is in effect a digital twin, because it has the timestamp, it has the full routes, and it's a digital twin of that supply chain. So it's precisely what you're describing there, and the timestamp record is the real value. The accuracy of that data is better than a human entering that information, and that's why we can predict ahead and plan ahead to enable the efficient, seamless handover at each point in the supply chain. So everything Anaeko does in some way is dreaming of that quality of data. Where what we have to deal with is the fact that some systems aren't as accurate, aren't as timely, and consequently, when we're building up in digital twins of the world in which we're modeling, we're trying to increase the accuracy, the quality, the timeliness, the integrity, and ultimately get an immutable data source. So the value of blockchain is that it's kind of the premium end of that. And that's part of the projects that we'll implement where there's blockchain. Where there's not, we're trying to deliver the same goals, just taking more effort and bringing that together.
And I get the correction there that Emil was meaning more of a 3D digital twin as an asset. So thanks for that. And Emil, we'll come back to you later on as well. So it was good, and I really do like the questions. Let me jump over to Chris Reid. I know you posted 2 questions there. I think the second one's very interesting. How do you maintain GDPR compliance within Gen AI engines in general? In this particular one, LLM based Gen AI, but GDPR.
Yeah, well, I had described in one of the slides about putting up guardrails, right? And then, every type of AI is trained on data. So as organizations have their most trusted data sources need to be protected, they need to have the guardrails in place around that. And that's unique to each business. So I mean, we have to ensure and apply and understand the security. We have to integrate those commercial sources that are very proprietary, and as part of that, GDPR and every part of data privacy and protection is essential within that, as well as commercial sensitivities and national security sensitivities. So, there's all kinds of compliance needs to be controlled in those projects.
Yeah.
Kieran, did you want to jump on?
Yeah, I'll also add that. So the program that we run across the border as part of Brexit was critical national infrastructure, Chris. So just to support Colm's thinking on this, the blockchain actually supports cryptographic communities of interest. What that means is those are the guardrails around that, that opportunity and that data, because the data is always yours. We can't do what Colm and the team at Anaeko do. Analytics is by far one of the best ways to take cost out and reduce risk within your business, because obviously you've got that predictive element, mean time to failure. And just on the digital twin side, Emil, so anything we do, we create a digital twin, and we're starting to see mainstream EU trailer manufacturers now putting their trailers as digital twins onto the chain. And again, that provides Anaeko with the opportunity to manage that as a digital asset and 3D model its predictive analytics for the future. So I do think there's a lot of unknown unknowns, but from what we've seen so far as part of critical national infrastructure and the data is actually worth more. It's actually worth 4 to 5 times more than the journey itself. And when you think of that, I don't think there's anybody better placed to help extract that value than Anaeko.
Yeah, I'd like to pick up. It's Chris Reid had an added question in the chat. Is, as data is king, are you seeing clients invested in selling the data set to third parties for AI engine training? It's almost the opposite. Because the value of that data is something that any business sees that they can harness. There's kind of an increasing ambition to use that within the tools and the platforms you have. And for example, as electric vehicles got introduced, the telemetry from EVs, the manufacturers are increasingly kind of controlling and wanting to harness the value within there. So what we find is that while there's an increase of data collection and generation, the companies are trying to have, there's so many companies here at this Road Transport Expo who describe themselves as the one platform, because they want to connect in and integrate and be the single source of truth. So there isn't actually that marketplace that was once described as the opportunity to sell data, more as there is the interest in generating value from it. And so part of what we'll do is that there's part is understanding what can be exchanged between these systems and joining the dots between them.
Yeah, I'll take this last question as well, and just to give back a few minutes then back to everyone before they start their next on top of the hour meeting, is there's a question here, just what advice would you offer to a student about to enter the workforce in supply chain and logistics, considering, you know, the importance that we've been talking about of AI and data analytics skills in this field? What advice? Because it's great to hear someone who's coming new into this, not just talking about people who've been in it for 20 years. So thanks for that question, Amina.
Yeah, so I'll answer that. Anaeko has presented at and been part of events with the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport. And they are constantly at every event describing about the data skills shortages, and they're making available courses and micro training. So how, rather than kind of going through a long university-led program, you can increase your knowledge incrementally in short, sharp areas. And so as you're starting to enter the workforce, what I would look for is bodies like the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport who advertise and promote the skills development, because they recognize that data and AI skills are needed in an industry. And they're needed to attract a young generation, because you have a more elderly driver, and to be seen as a attractive market, the AI skills need to be promoted, and data, they're both essential for it, but they're attractive for Amy, your interest. And so my advice would be, look at those short programs. Look at the training that's available. You know, there's all kinds of support available, and just get hands-on.
Never a better time to get into the business. In fact, actually, is the moment. There really isn't. So, guys, just the closing minutes. Every month we're doing webinars related like this. If there's a particular webinar you'd like to hear about around these fields and data engineering, let us know. Drop us a line. Let us know something you'd like to have us talk about. We bring in all types of professionals. Kieran so kindly joining us today, expert in the field of blockchain. So if there's an area you'd like to know, please come back and tell us. Our next webinar is on July 3rd, before I think you all start to take some of your well-deserved summer holidays. Our next event, although we're here at this event here, just up the road toward Birmingham, toward the airport, the NEC, is multimodal. We'll be there again. If you care to drop by, that would be fantastic. Come and have a coffee with us, have a chat, share your thoughts. But also, as always, as an action, book a review with us. If you want to find out about challenges in your business, come and have our experts talk to you. Contact Kieran. Come and let us look, and we can unearth the problems that you don't even know exist, and we can bring your business forward. So please book a review. Don't be shy. Get in touch with us, and we can actually work towards a better future for your business together. So sales@anaeko.com at any time. Please visit both the websites of anaeko.com and Ubloquity as well. Please get onto the site, and please keep talking with us. And it's by sharing the information we all serve a better cause. So thank you all for joining. Thank you, Colm.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kieran. And thanks everyone for your time today. Have a great day for the rest of it, and hopefully have a nice lunch.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Kieran.
everyone. Bye-bye.
See you all, guys.